Today, I'm not going to talk about Travis Scott and his concert. No. Over this week, the internet and social media have been bombarded with this discussion. I don't have much to say on it, except if you follow the devil and partake in his worship, this is what can and will happen. It does not get better, only worse. I pray people come out of that and worship our true Savior, Yahshua, and repent. This ministry is devoted to those that wish to do so. I'm not going to waste a video to talk about that. It's very clear. Devil worship and sacrifice. Plain and simple. Boom. But I do have something more important and prevalent to discuss. Last week, I made a video about the metaverse. It was pretty important for me to make that video because from the time I began to learn about this agenda, I instantly thought about all the children in the world that are already plugged into it and the parents that were unaware of what was going on and what the children were actually into. And as I read through the comments, I was happy to see that the message was received and many parents went back and got their houses in order, understanding that the devil comes from many different angles. Now, in the comments, I also saw many people recommending me to watch the movie Ready Player One. I knew of this movie before I made the video, but I never had the chance to watch it before I made the video. I knew it was a direct message in regards to the metaverse programming. Everything about this movie was about predictive programming for the future they want us to be ready for. The movie totally confirmed a lot of the conclusions I had already made when I researched the metaverse independently from their propaganda. Now, I was led to watch that movie because of just how many people commented that I should watch it. Like, at least 20% of the comments recommended that movie, along with some other show called Black Mirror, which as of yet, I have not watched. By the name, I don't think that I should, and that brings me to the point of this video. When I watched that movie, Ready Player One, though, yes, it was a direct point of reference to the metaverse, and there probably wasn't a better movie to illustrate this subject, this movie was watched at a great risk by everyone, and based on the amount of people that recommended it, I had to make this video warning about another scheme of the enemy that is against us all. For all those who watched that movie, along with many other movies and programming spanning the last couple of decades at least, you may be cursed or have some kind of wickedness attached to you that you are not aware of. And I know that's a bold statement, but it has to be spoken of. The enemy is cunning, and one of his biggest tools is working through ignorance and attacking you when your mind is asleep, not processing. We all need to get our houses in order and clean up our spiritual lives. So we all need to engage in some spiritual warfare. In order to help you all with this, to help you clean up, I'm going to first illustrate the problem and then provide the solution. It's all about removing the influence of our enemy and then being ready for our Messiah. Let's begin. Okay, so while watching this movie, though it was all about keeping you engaged in the plot about the metaverse, there were many other obvious agendas filled in with their programming. And before I explain the reason for the video, I just really want to show how evil they actually are. All throughout this movie was satanic imagery. Look at this. This is the pagan god Pan. This is Satan. They show us pentagrams everywhere in this movie. In the last scene where he meets the creator of the metaverse, he goes into the creator's room as a child, and all throughout his room is filled with satanic imagery. Like that right there. And this. And that. I mean, it was filled with it. And throughout the movie, this satanic imagery was everywhere. From what I saw, that was the only religious presence that you saw in the movie. They clearly presented us with a subliminal message that they did not communicate verbally. That message was that this is a satanic world and Satan is the god of it. The creator of the metaverse worshipped and followed Satan, and being that everyone in the world worshipped the creator.
And Halliday, he wasn't just the owner of the world's biggest company. He was like a god. People loved him. They worshipped him as much as his creation.
They even bowed down to him.
Mr. Halliday, Anorak, it's such an honor.
they also worship Satan indirectly. This was extremely subliminal. And for those of you that watched it, I'm certain that most of you saw this imagery. Some was more blatant than others. But they were communicating a belief in Satanism by subtly placing the imagery everywhere. And if your mind was asleep to it, and you just allowed the satanic imagery to take root, you have been unknowingly influenced by Satanism.
How did you know who he was gonna pick?
We told him to. We've been telling him all day.
From the moment he left his hotel room, we've been priming him, programming his subconscious. He's been seeing the number 55 all day long. On the elevator, in the lobby, even the stick pin on the doormat. Not only that, we loaded his route from the hotel to the stadium. He looks out the window, primers are everywhere. Now he doesn't see it, but he does. There's no getting around it. He even sees far.
That is genius.
Yeah, and it's not only what he sees, it's what he hears. The Mandarin word for 5 is wu. There are 124 woo-woos in sympathy for the devil. Now he's not registering it, but it's all there. So when he picks up those binoculars, looks out on the field, sees a familiar face with the number 55 on his jersey, some little voice in the back of his mind says, that's it. And he thinks it's intuition, and he picks.
Do you want me to write it down?
And you, being in the dark, was the convincer. We call that the little blind mouse.
That was a clip from the movie Focus, starring Will Smith. If you do not understand symbolism and subliminal messages, please go to my symbolism playlist and watch these videos. It's important that when engaging in this world, you do not let your mind fall into a hypnotic state, because this is the best way for them to slip in their messages to your subconscious without you knowing. For me, when I watch movies like this, I often hit the pause button throughout. I do this to break out of any hypnotic state that we may be in. I know that this is the devil's turf that I'm in, and I need to be very careful. Now, the best practice is for everyone to stop watching all these movies and television shows. That is my recommendation to everyone watching. If you don't enter into his playground, you don't give him a chance to attack you. Once you enter in, he believes you are fair game, which you are. You have given him an opportunity to walk through a door. And so if you don't protect it, he will walk right in. And so if you do engage with this content and walk into his programming, you must be very strong and keep your brain on at all times. Raising my sons in this world is a very difficult task, particularly in America, where wickedness and immorality is promoted every time we engage in this system. Every time they ever went to a movie or something like that, I always told them the same thing, and I still do. Be vigilant and do not turn off your brain. You see, the theaters are such a dangerous place to engage with their programming because you have no control. You cannot mute and you cannot pause. So you really have to be vigilant and not give yourself over to them. Throughout all these years, I do hope my sons take my warning seriously. But as a parent, you know all you can do is try to raise them right. When they become a certain age, they are responsible for themselves. But anyway, the point I am making is that if you are not careful and vigilant and make sure your mind is always working and looking at the complete screen, not just what they want you to focus on, but the other things hidden, not in direct view on the screen, you will receive subliminal messages to your subconscious that will work against you without you being aware of it. These people know how to engage with our minds. They are experts with this. Therefore, can you imagine the danger we risk when we just give them full access to it? Do you honestly think that all that satanic imagery I just showed you in the movie Ready Player One was by accident? No, that was intentional. Nothing gets done by accident in these movies. They are promoting the messages that they want the world to accept. And that brings me to the actual point of this video, because it goes much more deeper than just the satanic imagery. They also are performing witchcraft and magic upon the watchers of this content. Now, I am nowhere close to a witch. I don't keep in communication with any. So therefore, I cannot explain what it is that they are doing in these spells, or what the purpose of each spell is. But for me, When someone says they are doing a spell, I know for me, this is always a red flag. And I know it's a point where I must engage in spiritual warfare, because they're doing it with me. These movies literally are engaging in magic spells on the audience, and the majority just sit there and let it occur.
The orb ready? As you wish. The orb of Osifix. Oh, how does it work? It's got like a remote or through a button or something? Nolan, it's a level 99 magic artifact on one of your drones, so it is activated by a magic spell. You here to do the honors?
Now, I will not play the spells, and you do not need to dig so deep to really understand what they are doing. When they are saying that they are about to say a spell, you are being very naive if you believe that what they are doing is for the greater good, or is harmless and innocent, or that they are representing righteousness. They are putting spells and witchcraft right on you, which normally leads to spirits and demons attaching themselves to you. For instance, with this movie, Ready Player One, I just showed that there was a ton of satanic imagery all throughout it. And you would think that they would just stop with that. But no, they also perform magic spells on the whole audience. Now, what they would like you to believe is that this is just entertainment, and it's all harmless fun. But that couldn't be further from the truth. They are engaging in spiritual warfare against you, and because you have given them an entryway, they are walking right through. Now, in reference to that spell in the movie, some simple digging has said that this spell was used from the movie Excalibur, and it has a very dark satanic message that I will not repeat or recite. A former satanic witch named John Todd, who exposed the satanic agendas that were prevalent in the 20th century, like from the Beatles and other sources, he made a point that always stuck with me. He said, "You can't cast a spell on a Christian, but you can get a Christian to cast a spell on themselves." And this is done when the believer opens the doorway to the satanic world. At that point, they are fair game. And so for any one of you that watched that movie, that did not mute or fast forward through that magic spell that they said at least twice in the movie, you do not know what has been done to you. In the movie, that spell was a 99th degree or some level or something like that.
Nolan, it's a level 99 magic artifact.
That put up a defense wall around something very important that they did not want others to get through to. You do not know if the spell did this to you spiritually. Again, this is magic and witchcraft that only the witches and warlocks understand. It is not something that should ever be played with or taken lightly. And the thing is that they do this so much now that we don't really know what they have been doing to us spiritually. I remember in the newest Bad Boys movie, it was completely unwatchable because they put out spells of death on the audience. Matter of fact, this movie was released a few months before the pandemic, January 17th of 2020 to be exact. Anyways, in the movie, some witch was trying to kill Will Smith, and so as she sent her son to do the killings physically, her herself was doing black magic against him. They showed her doing the spells and letting her chants out. It was satanic Santa Muerte magic. Look at this article. New Bad Boys film taps expertise of VCU's Santa Muerte scholar. Bad Boys for Life, the new Will Smith and Martin Lawrence action comedy that opens today, tapped the expertise of Virginia Commonwealth University professor Andrew Chestnut, PhD, an internationally recognized expert of Latin American religious history and leading scholar on the Mexican folk saint Santa Muerte. He was asked to provide the film production with his insight into Santa Muerte to ensure that the folk saint personifying death will be portrayed accurately. I was thrilled that the production company, run by Will Smith's brother-in-law, contacted me for consulting on the portrayal of Santa Muerte. He told me that Mexican actress Kate Del Castillo, who plays the narco witch devoted to the Mexican skeleton saint, had insisted that the script be changed from featuring the Cuban religion of Palo Mayombe to Santa Muerte. So my main role was to advise on altar designs in the context of a narco devotee, as not only is Del Castillo a witch, but also the head of a Mexican drug cartel. I must say, I couldn't be more pleased with how the altars turned out. It's just evil. This is witchcraft, folks, and they are not hiding it. They even say she's a witch. They're consulting experts and allowing them to place their witchcraft in their movies. Just because the person has a PhD behind their name doesn't make them trustworthy or benevolent. They place witchcraft in the movie and the audience just sits under it. It's very evil. This isn't so much of our entertainment that we just don't realize. They often do spells and chants, and people think that it means nothing. One huge example is from the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movie series. They spoke directly in dark witch languages, and they perform magic spells continuously. They are supposedly made-up languages. One of the languages is actually called Black Speech, and in the movie it is used by those doing black magic.
The necromancer's talked of as being this sort of dark witch, this force rising in the east, this evil entity. Letha was fantastic with Black Speech, and she's ridiculously enthusiastic about it. So you kind of, if you please that teacher, it's a great day. It's kind of creepy, in a nursery rhyme, and the lamb went to sleep, the devil is here. It does feel a little bit like playing with voodoo or black magic. You kind of go afterwards.
Or in the Harry Potter movies. I never watched them, so I can't reference much of them. But from my research, they were always casting spells. Look at this article on the Oprah Daily website. 77 Harry Potter spells that every must know. I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to say it. They have spell books. The movies were all about casting spells. Did you know that in the Universal Studios theme park in Orlando, they have Harry Potter lands in both of their lands, Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios? That's not the crazy part. The Harry Potter lands are the most packed lands in the parks. That's not the crazy part. You will see people of all ages wearing cloaks pretending to be witches and warlocks. That's crazy, but still not the craziest part. They have vendors there that sell magic wands like they used in the movies. Now we're getting warmer, but still not the craziest. When I used to see this, I used to think that these people were crazy pretending to be witches, going as far as buying pretend wands. I thought they were just really crazy and just loved wickedness. But then it got deeper for me. One day I saw this, and I haven't been back since. At the entrance to the land there, they have these words: "Please respect the spell limits." So I asked someone who worked there what it meant, and the answer shocked me. Basically, they all perform spells there, and they want to limit the intensity of what is performed in that area.
So we're gonna please respect the spell limits. We're gonna cast a whole lot of spells with the new Dark Arts wand. Hopefully I don't get in trouble out here and cast the wrong spell.
I was shocked. When I looked it up online, it said, "Please respect the spell limits. Hogsmeade welcome sign." Spell limits are presumably the maximum spell casting intensity and or the types of spells allowed by law in certain all-wizard locations. That is absolutely the craziest part. These people there were not pretending to be witches and warlocks. They were performing their magic and witchcraft right in the open. Real witchcraft and magic. Then I found out that they have a dark arts magic show in that land. Universal describes it as "witness the darker side of magic." As darkness falls on Hogwarts Castle, Dementors, Death Eaters, and other unspeakable creatures cloak the stone walls in sinister images and fiendish magic. Chaos erupts as the image of Lord whatever joins the fray, summoning his cruel legions to swarm the castle. Stare in awe at the castle's takeover during this ominous spectacle of light and music. I mean, it's crazy. They are doing black magic in the open. I was really taken back from it. Listen, the point that I'm getting at is that witches, warlocks, witchcraft, magic spells, etc. It's all real. In Mystery Babylon especially, it is prevalent and pushed everywhere as if it is normal. Then Babylon spreads it all over the world. That's why it's prophesied that Mystery Babylon has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. Revelation chapter 18, verse 2. You see, it's a dwelling place of demons and every foul spirit because the public has been trained to summon them and accept them. They are doing witchcraft right in the open. The television and movies are placing spells, chants, witch language, all in the content. Today, People wear satanic symbols on their clothing and get them tattooed on their bodies. They speak witchcraft in demonic terms as general language. For me personally, it seems I can't go one day without seeing someone speaking about manifesting something. There are even churches that embrace this witchcraft and nonsense. I mean, it's completely out of hand. And the point that I'm making is that everyone must be aware of what is going on here and fight back in the spirit. Now, the best recommendation, like I said earlier, is to stay away from all of this content. But being that this world, especially Babylon, is bombarded with the satanic energy, and it seems never ending, all believers have to be armed. The first thing you must do is not be ignorant to these satanic agendas and satanic schemes, tools, and devices that Satan uses against us. Your ignorance is his greatest ally. Lest Satan should take advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. You see, when we are ignorant of his devices, he can take advantage of us. So stop being ignorant to them. We live in a satanically led world with people who live with an agenda of spreading satanic false light. Your mind should never be turned off from it, and it should be expected more than it shouldn't be. The best thing to do for yourself is to withdraw from it all. Test all things, hold fast what is good, abstain from every form of evil. That's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 21 and 22. Now, I do recognize how hard this is all to apply in the beginning, especially if you have never weaned yourself off of these things before. It's very hard to stop cold turkey. I get it. So if you don't take this, or at this time feel you're not able to take my recommendation to not watch content like that and give the enemy a door to attack you through, you must be very careful. Make sure you hold the remote control right in your hand and mute the television when you have to. Pause it periodically to make sure you snap yourself out of any hypnotic state. And just fast forward through content you know is evil and wrong. Don't watch sex scenes on mute. Fast forward through them. If they say they are performing a spell, mute it and fast forward it, even if you happen to realize it halfway through the spell. You must be active and not just sit in front of a screen like a zombie, letting them pour their suggestions and messages right into you. You have to do better. You must remember what you're up against. And that's why I took the time to display the witchcraft that was prevalent. But let me be clear. I just highlighted a small amount of examples, but in no way shows the complete body of work this evil is exposed in. It is actually everywhere in many programs. Anytime you hear them speak in languages you don't recognize, mute it, especially if you don't see subtitles. You do not know what they are saying and or doing in the spirit world. They are very cunning and evil, and you must recognize that this is not a game. You must recognize what you're up against. Put on the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of Elohim, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. That's Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 through 13. Understand, you're not going against a physical enemy. That is not your biggest risk. It's not flesh and blood that you're up against. It's the spiritual wickedness that is working against you that you must be guarded against. And you do not do this by physical fitness and just mental strength. This is done through spiritual warfare. And that's why you always must live with your spiritual armor on. I have made a video about the subject that you should watch if you're not familiar with spiritual warfare and the armor of Elohim. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm going to first illustrate the problem like I did, and then I'm going to provide the solution, which I spoke to briefly. In that spiritual warfare video, I gave a warfare prayer against the enemy. That will be your solution. I am providing the link again in the description below. It's a very powerful prayer that came from the blog Behold I Come. I have the PDF available for everyone to read, print, and say aloud. This is a very powerful prayer. Make sure you download it and say it out loud whenever you feel you need to. If you feel you have been influenced by these satanic schemes, say this prayer and close those doorways. If you took the solution that has been given to the masses, say this prayer. If you just know that you need to clean up your spiritual life, say this prayer. It is very powerful and will rebuke the enemy. As I have displayed in this video, the devil is extremely busy right now coming against the world, and of course the saints. We must get stronger in our defense, and we can only do this through spiritual warfare. So I pray this information strengthens the body. Again, the link is in the description box. You must understand that they are attacking us in the spiritual realm, and most of us don't have a clue. You must understand what is going on, and videos like this one are made to inform you and keep you engaged in the real battle. This is a spiritual battle for your soul, and most of us have grown up in it completely without defense because the churches which we trusted to help us, to guard us, and to teach us how to fight the good fight of faith, they were actually distracting many of us and setting us up for infiltration in this God-forsaken world. But Father, in His love and kindness and grace, has found you and reached out to you to turn away from the false teachings, false prophets, false idols, and false mindsets, and seek Him directly through His Word. And through His Word, you will find Him. You will find Yeshua. And if you follow Him, He will protect you and keep you out of harm's way. These tools, schemes, and devices from Satan need to be exposed in order to help many of you rebuke it so that it loses its effectiveness. The Word says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. That's Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11. And that is what is trying to be done through this ministry. But in the end, it is up to you to stand firm in your faith, standing confident and strong in His armor, warring in the spirit with the word of Yah. Continue to stand firm and strong and live in peace, knowing that our redemption is near. Stand strong in Him and cast down our enemy. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching. If this has blessed you, please don't forget to like and share this video with others. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel. Elohim willing, I upload every Friday. Don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. Thank you for watching. I'm thankful for all of you. Thank you especially to those Elohim has placed it on your hearts to give, and you have done so. Thank you in your assistance in carrying out this ministry every week. Thank you for your blessings and your prayers. They truly support this ministry. Okay, thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.